So I'm laying in bed the other night, getting ready to go to sleep. And I often lay in bed before I get ready to go to sleep. But one of the things I do before I go to sleep is I've got to unwind my brain from the day and everything else that's going on in my world. And so a lot of times I will go to YouTube because YouTube is just a good place for me to veg out for a little bit. And I'll watch a little bit of YouTube before I go to sleep. But being that I'm a musician, I get a tremendous amount of music stuff that comes across my YouTube feed. Well, one of the things that came across the other day was Van Halen's Live Without a Net. And I was thinking, my gosh, I haven't seen this in eons. I can't remember the last time I saw this. And being that I'm a much bigger Hagar Van Halen fan than I was a Roth Van Halen fan, I thought, you know what? I'm going to check some of this out. I just like the Hagar version better. The music got better. The vocals definitely got better. 80s guitar tone got better. And it just seemed like everything became fuller during that era. And of course, I was a big Hagar fan before he joined Van Halen. So I'm sitting there and I'm flipping through and I'm watching it and I'm watching it. And I was watching Eddie Van Halen play. I started to notice something very peculiar. So I kept kind of speeding through, getting to the parts where it would show close-ups of the great EVH playing his guitar. And the more I watched, the more I realized, oh my God, he plays guitar exactly like I do. And then in that moment, I had feelings of greatness consume my body. Eddie Van Halen plays guitar the same way that I do. And then I got to Eddie Van Halen's solo section, and those feelings of greatness, they left my body instantly. Eddie Van Halen was a master, there's no doubt about it, and he was just a phenomenal guitar player. But what am I talking about? He plays guitar the way I do. Well, let me grab my guitar here, my trusty Wolfgang, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Got to go under the cable. So when I was watching Eddie Van Halen play in that concert, when he was playing very fast riffage, and I'm not talking where you're just picking around, stuff like that. When he was playing very fast riffage and moving around the neck, when he would play a passage or a set of notes, which happened to be a half step, whole step, this right here, and guitar's not plugged up so you can't hear anything. And he was playing it like this. And I thought, okay, well, that's how we all play it. That makes sense. And I can do that all day long and keep it in perfect time. I can do it legato, keep it in perfect time, and keep the notes nice and even because I've got a lot of strength in these fingers here. Tremendous amount of strength. Well, when he was playing a passage that was whole step, half step, he was playing it this way. And I got to thinking, well, hang on now. That's exactly how I do it. He was not playing it this way. Playing it like this. And that kind of got me thinking about it. For years during my time of playing guitar, I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to develop this combination right here. This pinky ring finger. I can get this one going great. I can get these going great. I could never get this one going great. And I can do it, and that's just because of years of working on it. But I can't do it nowhere near as fluidly, as fast, or as accurate as doing it this way or this way. So that got me to thinking. We dropped the guitar off. And we got to go back under the cable and into the guitar stand. So for years, I was working on trying to develop these two fingers in unison because everything else, these two work together, these two work together, these two work together. I can get these two to work together and these two to work together, but I cannot get these two to work together nowhere near as well as the rest. So after watching that video, I got to think, well, hang on. Eddie Van Halen, who is a master guitar player, one of the greats, if not the great, is doing the same exact thing I'm doing. When it comes to passages where these two fingers are involved, he drops this one out. Very fast passages. The same thing that I do. So if Eddie Van Halen's doing this, what's the reasoning behind this? So let's dig into the science on what's going on and why this finger is so much more inferior to the other three fingers on your fretboard. So what's going on here is you have tendons in your hands, as you all know, and each finger has its own tendon, each finger. And what's happening here is these fingers, as the tendons come down, there is a tendon that is adjoining these fingers here, and it is called coupling. And the reason we have this is because back in the day when we were cavemen, we were just a bunch of idiot blobs roaming around the earth, and we were the inferior species. And if you were in cave A and your girlfriend lived in cave C, and if you wanted to go see your girlfriend, you had to come up with a plan, a strategy to get from cave A to cave C, because in that journey from A to C, there's at least 50 things you're going to encounter that is going to want to eat you. So, as we became smarter cavemen, don't know if we've really come that far, to be honest with you, but as we became smarter cavemen, we started to understand that in order to be the dominant species, we have to start using other things besides ourselves. Tools. Well, when we started figuring out how to use tools, one big key concept of the tool is the ability to be able to grip that tool. Because we were hammering, we were making things, we were cutting things, we were stabbing things. And that's where coupling comes in. So the way that we are designed, our physiology in our hands, is one finger is not independent of the other fingers. And if you notice, when I move one, other fingers move. And that is caused by the coupling of the tendons. And the reason it works this way is because we are not meant to grip like this with just a finger, because you will never have a strong grip. We are meant to grip like this with all the fingers in unison, because now we have a strong, tight grip. Because back in those days, as it is now, gripping things were very important, especially when something was trying to eat you or take it away from you. You had to have the ability to grip things and the ability to build things. And when you grab big logs and stuff, what do? You grip them with all of your hands. And the purpose of this coupling is it keeps the hand moving in unison to where everything moves together. And that's how the hand is designed. It is not designed for each finger to do its own thing. It's designed to be used like this. And the general purpose of it is gripping like we grip a guitar neck or a saxophone or anything else, a violin. We grip it. And that's why those tendons are connected. And again, that is called coupling. But I got to thinking there has to be more than that, simply because this finger moves pretty good independently. Now, granted, it moves the other fingers, but this finger has a tremendous amount of motion. This finger, your pinky, has a crazy amount of motion. May not be as strong as the others, but the amount of motion your pinky has is insane. But your middle finger also has a tremendous amount of motion, but your ring finger, it does not. It's not as coordinated as the other fingers. Okay, well, if they all have tendons and all the tendons are connected, why are these two fingers so different? Well, there's a reason for that too. This finger is coupled by a tendon to this finger, but there is no finger here. So it's only being coupled on one side, this side, which gives this finger a tremendous amount of freedom. Same thing with your pinky. Your pinky is only coupled on one side. There's no finger here. So your pinky has a tremendous amount of freedom. Now, these two fingers are coupled on two sides. So they don't have as much freedom, but it seems like this middle finger has a tremendous amount of more freedom than the ring finger. Well, if they're both coupled on both sides, why does your ring finger have so much more dexterity than your middle finger have so much more dexterity than your ring finger? So I dug a little deeper into this. And I remember back to my anatomy class when I was in school, because my original degree I was a rad tech for years, worked in a hospital. And I remember the nerves in the hand. So I went back and started doing a little more reading just to make sure I remembered everything, because that was many, many years ago. So what's going on here? The reason this finger does not behave like the rest of these fingers. So let's move through real quick. Coupled on one side by a tendon, coupled on two sides, coupled on two sides, coupled on one side by a tendon. So these two fingers should be lame. But you have two nerves that supply your hand. You have the radial nerve and the ulnar nerve. Now, the radial nerve is on your thumb side. The ulnar nerve is on your pinky side. And what's going on here is the radial nerve will supply your thumb, it supplies your index finger. The ulnar nerve supplies your ring finger, and it supplies your pinky. But your middle finger, this side of your middle finger, the radial nerve runs this side of the finger. The ulnar nerve is on this side of the finger. So you have one tendon, well, forget the thumb. So you have one coupled tendon and one nerve. Two coupled tendons and one nerve. One coupled tendon and one nerve. Two coupled tendons, two nerves. That is why the middle finger will behave and act so much better than the ring finger. And like I said, when I pull my fingers down, this is what's caused, the coupling is what's causing this, of the tendons, causing them to move. But if you notice, when I move my middle finger, I can pretty much hold these two fingers still, but not this one. When I move this pinky down, I can pretty much hold these fingers still, but not this one. When I move this down, I can pretty much hold all the fingers still, because this one is not coupled to my ring finger. These two are, and these two are. But with this one only having one nerve, it cannot function the way this one can, having two nerves. It's getting two signals from the brain, which give this one more dexterity, even though it is coupled on both sides by the tendons. So what is the point of all this? What are you saying? Why are you telling us all this? Well, like I said, for years, I thought the shortcoming of my playing with this hand, with this finger, I thought that was a me issue. And then come to find out, it's not a me issue. It's a physiological issue. So watching Eddie Van Halen play guitar and doing it the same way that I do it, although much, much more better. Much more better? Is that how you say that? Much more better? Even though he's doing it better than I am, it got me thinking, well, maybe the problem really isn't me. And it's not. The problem is how our hand is designed. So if you happen to be one of those guitar players like I am, and you're working the chops, trying to get that left hand going, but you notice this finger is constantly getting in the way, work around it. And like I said, when you're doing that half-step whole note pattern, use these three fingers. But when you're doing the whole note, take this finger out, the whole note half-step pattern, you're never going to be able to play it as fluidly with these as you are with these. Use these three fingers. And when you're running into hurdles, bypass this finger, because what's going on here is not your fault. It's simply the way that we're made. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up right there. And I hope that kind of gives you an explanation on why your hand doesn't always do what you think it should do. But like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss the beat, you lose the rhythm, and nothing falls into place. And no matter what you do, for the love of God, rock on.